The storage industry has built a multi-billion-dollar business on a single idea that the reason your home feels disorganized is because you do not have enough places to put things. More boxes, more drawer dividers, more underbed containers, more hooks, rails, and rotating carousel organizers for the back of cupboard doors. And yet, most people who buy these things find themselves 6 months later in exactly the same position. The boxes are full, the dividers are disordered. The home feels just as cluttered as it did before, except now the clutter is better packaged. Japan has a different diagnosis entirely. The home does not feel disorganized because there is not enough storage. It feels disorganized because there is too much being stored. And the solution is not a system. It is a set of habits so quietly embedded in Japanese daily life that most people who practice them have never once thought of them as organization at all. There is a concept in Japanese thinking called ma. It does not translate neatly, but the closest version is this. Space is not what is left over after everything has been put away. Space is something that is deliberately created and actively protected. An empty surface is not an unfilled surface. It is a surface doing exactly what it is supposed to do. A home with ma breathes. A home without it does not, regardless of how many storage boxes line its walls. 7 habits. Number 4 involves removing something most people spent money on and feel guilty letting go of. And number 7 takes under 2 minutes a day and makes every other effort in this list compound over time. Habit 1. Every surface in the home has a specific purpose, and nothing else lives on it. In most Western homes, surfaces accumulate. The kitchen counter becomes a landing zone. The dining table becomes a desk. The bedroom chair becomes a wardrobe. Each surface starts with a purpose and slowly becomes a repository for everything that does not yet have a home elsewhere. In Japanese homes, each surface has one designated function, and that function is defended. The dining table is for eating. When the meal ends, it is clear. The kitchen counter is for preparing food. When the cooking ends, it is clear. This is not achieved through obsessive tidying. It is achieved through a simple rule applied consistently. If it does not belong on this surface, it does not land here in the first place. Go through your home this weekend and name the purpose of every surface. Then look at what is actually on each one. Everything that does not belong to that purpose has somewhere else to be, and finding that place is the first act of genuine organization. Habit 2. Vertical space is used before floor space. Walk into a cluttered Western room and the clutter is almost always on the floor or spreading horizontally across surfaces. Bags by the door, boxes stacked along the wall, objects queued along the skirting board waiting to be dealt with. Japanese homes, many of them significantly smaller than their Western equivalents, treat vertical space as the primary storage axis. Walls are used, height is used, the floor is left clear. Not because the floor is sacred, but because a clear floor makes a room feel twice as large as any other single change possibly could. Look at your walls. Look at the height of your shelving. If your storage stops at shoulder height and your floor is carrying objects, the room has unused space above and overcrowded space below. Moving storage upward and clearing the floor transforms the feeling of the room before a single item leaves it. Habit 3. Every item that comes into the home is given a home immediately, not eventually, not when there is time to sort it out. The moment something enters the home, it is placed where it lives. The bag of shopping goes away before anything else happens. The parcel opened at the front door. The contents go to their place, the packaging goes to the bin, and the hallway looks exactly as it did before the delivery arrived. This is a habit that sounds minor and functions as an enormous one. The accumulation that makes a home feel perpetually disordered is almost never the result of one large event. It is the result of hundreds of small objects placed down temporarily and never moved again. Temporary becomes permanent so gradually that nobody notices it happening. The rule is not complicated. Everything that enters the home needs a place before it arrives, or it finds its place the moment it does. There is no temporary. Habit 4. The storage you own for things you no longer use goes with the things it was storing. This is the uncomfortable one. Most people who have decluttered a home have removed the unwanted objects and kept the storage containers those objects lived in, because the containers themselves were expensive or might be useful or feel too good to throw away, even empty. In Japanese thinking, this is where the practice of dan-shari applies most directly. Refuse what you do not need, discard what you do not use, and separate yourself from the emotional weight of objects that are costing you space without giving anything back. An empty storage box is not a useful object waiting for a purpose. It is a container for future clutter, sitting in your home, taking up the space it was supposed to solve. When something leaves your home, its container leaves with it. This single habit prevents the slow reaccumulation that defeats every decluttering effort within months of completing it. Habit 5. Wardrobes and cupboards are never filled beyond 80%. In Japan, the practice of hara-hachi-bu, eating to 80% fullness, is well known. Less discussed is how the same principle applies to storage in Japanese homes. A cupboard filled to capacity is a cupboard that cannot be used easily. Everything is pressed against everything else. Finding one item disturbs 5 others. The cupboard becomes something to avoid rather than something to use. Japanese wardrobes and cupboards are kept deliberately underfilled, not because there is less to store, because the 20% of empty space is functional. It is what allows the other 80% to be reached, used, and returned without friction. Storage that is too full is storage that does not work. Go to your most crowded cupboard. Remove everything. Return only what you use regularly and what genuinely belongs there. Stop at 80%. Notice how different it feels to open that cupboard tomorrow morning. Habit 6. The entryway is treated as the organizational threshold of the entire home. The genkan, the small entryway space in Japanese homes where shoes are removed before entering, is not just a hygiene habit. It is an organizational philosophy made physical. The line between the outside world and the inside one is clear, and it is maintained. Nothing from outside crosses it without being dealt with immediately. In Western homes, the entryway is where organization most commonly collapses. Shoes pile up, bags are dropped, coats accumulate, mail lands, and because the entryway is the first thing seen when coming home and the last thing seen when leaving, its disorder sets the tone for the entire home. Clear the entryway completely. Give every object that belongs there a fixed, specific place. Shoes go on the rack. Bag goes on the hook. Keys go in one spot and only that spot. When the entryway is under control, the organizational standard it sets reaches every room beyond it. Habit 7. Every evening, the home is reset to its starting position. Not cleaned, reset. This is the habit that makes every other habit on this list compound. In Japan, the practice of soji, a brief, light daily ritual of returning the home to order, means the home never accumulates the layers of disorder that make a deep reorganization necessary. 2 minutes in the kitchen returning surfaces to clear. 2 minutes in the living room returning objects to their places. The home wakes up tomorrow in the same condition it started today. The Western alternative is to let the day's disorder accumulate and address it at the weekend, by which point it is no longer a 2-minute reset, but a 2-hour project. The daily 2 minutes and the weekly 2 hours produce the same result once. Repeated across a year, they produce completely different homes. Tonight, before bed, spend 8 minutes walking through the home and returning everything to where it belongs. Not cleaning, just resetting. Tomorrow morning, notice what it feels like to wake up in a home that is already ready for the day. 7 habits. No storage boxes required. The Japanese home is not calmer because it is smaller and therefore forced to be organized. It is calmer because its inhabitants decided, habit by habit, what the home was for and refused to let it become anything else. Which of these 7 are you starting with this weekend? Tell me in the comments. And if someone in your life has spent a fortune on storage boxes and still cannot work out why the house never feels right, send this to them. The answer has nothing to do with buying anything else. I will see you in the next one.